I received a question on Instagram from one of our subscribers, so I thought I'd share both his question with you and the feedback I gave him, because I think this might be something that affects a lot of people during their sparring. He said to me that when he spars with people, especially those of them that are better than him, he finds that he will cover up and close up when the pressure gets too much. He'll get backed up into a corner, and then like his instant reaction is to shell up his guard, bring his arms up, maybe even close his eyes and just wait for something to happen. And he obviously expressed that it's really frustrating. He doesn't want it to happen. He doesn't really know why it's happening. And he wanted to know what he could do to help stop it. Now, I've said this a lot on this channel. This is probably the most common phrase I say, but that is very common. And it's a very normal response. We've spoke about on this channel a lot the fight or flight response. And you'll hear a lot of coaches talk about fight or flight. And those who don't know, this is like a real old primitive part of our brain, in our lizard brain, that determines that when there's a threat in front of us, we either stand and fight that threat. The saber-toothed tiger comes over the mountain and we see it and we decide, are we gonna stand and fight the tiger? Or are we gonna run? Are we gonna use flight and get away from it? This is an animal instinct you'll see in animals all the time. You'll encounter a wild animal, it might run at you and try to attack you. It might fly away or run away and try to get away from you. It's an instinctive response to help protect us. What gets left out a lot of the time is that there is a third response, and it's really one of the more common ones, which is freeze. Fight, flight, and freeze. Now, you'll probably encounter this one even more often with wild animals. You'll walk up on one, they'll see you, and they will go very still. They won't move. They freeze up in that moment. Now, again, instinctively, this might be to show that you're not a threat. It might be to pretend that you're dead, or hope that the animal hasn't seen you. Their vision is based on movement.
Keep absolutely still. This vision's based on movement.
Now, in sparring, this response can be a real problem. Here's the thing with sparring, right? You are fighting anyway. You can't flee the fight because it's a sparring match, right? You can't just turn around and run out the door. That would be mad. So you're kind of then left with freeze. So when it gets too much and your automated responses take over and it's no longer you making conscious, intelligent, logical decisions, you might default to freeze. Cover up, protect your most important parts of your body, and this is including why your eyes often close. Your automatic response is protect eyeballs, because eyeballs are super important to us and very easily damaged.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were having a state the obvious contest. I'm competitive by nature.
Now, we don't have huge amounts of protection other than obviously covering our face and closing our eyelids to prevent things like debris and things getting in there to scratch it. It's not perfect, but it works better than not doing anything. And this is the problem. This is what's happening to you guys. When you find that your arms go up and you freeze, it's that response. The problem, of course, with this, and this is what he described, is you get put in that corner, and if your opponent knows that that's your reaction, because they've done it to you a few times, they're gonna force that occasion and then take a minute to pick the shot on you. They're gonna get you to freeze, they're gonna look for where the opening is, and they're gonna hit you with that body shot, or they're gonna split the guard with a cross, or come around the side with a hook. By that point, it's a little too late for you, because you're then getting hit and that response is resetting, and you just freeze until you go down to the floor or your partner gives you a break. Now, over time, the more you train, you're gonna rely less on this whole fight, flight, freeze response. You're going to be able to invest more of your logical mind in what you're doing and stay more present in the moment. So although it might be a high pressure situation, you're in a corner and they're coming forward at you, you'll be able to logically decide what is the best course of action. And with more experience, you'll have more weapons available to you in terms of you might now know how to pivot off with a hook, or disrupt their pattern with throwing a straight cross down the middle, or have a level of head movement that you're able to evade the shots and break away out of the corner. But until you develop that level of ability, until you've drilled those things to the point where they naturally occur to you in sparring, here's a very quick little bit of advice. And it might be a little bit dangerous, but it'll help you as much as it might make you suffer. And that is, you need to react immediately. Regardless of what the response is, if you've shelled up and come into this guard position and you find yourself freezing, the worst thing you can do is wait and see, is to continue to freeze and wait for them to pick a shot. A better thing to do is to throw something out towards them to disrupt it. Now, what you don't want to do is throw the same thing every single time, because then again, we've got the same issue that they're going to back you up. They're going to wait for that response that you've drilled in, which is maybe you always throw the jab, and they're going to take advantage of that opening on you. But you do want to start developing a response that when you shell up, when you cover, you throw a technique immediately. You also don't necessarily need to see the target in order to throw it, because again, that freeze response might cause you to close your eyes, to flinch up, or cover your sight with your eyes. So if you're gonna wait for your eyes to open back up, to then find a target, to then put a punch on it, you've been hit 5 or 6 times in that moment. You can't wait for that to happen. You need to respond and fire something back to interrupt your opponent. I've said a lot on this channel before that you need to go forward with either your shield or your sword. If you just go towards your opponent, you're asking for trouble. If you go forward with your defense, good guard, good footwork, good head movement, that's great because it might get you past their weapon. But the most effective way to go forward on someone is with a weapon. Put your sword in their face, put your jab, put your cross, put your hook, give them something that they have to deal with. It commands their respect and it forces them to have to also think defensively, and it means that they have to break up their offense. This is basically patchwork. It's something to fill the gap whilst you work on working in that high pressure environment. The real thing you need to do is you need to go and get put in a corner on purpose and have someone spar you from that position for round after round after round. And you need to start drilling specific techniques that help break you out of that spot. The check hook, where we pivot off the angle, which creates space and throws an attack, great option. Head movement combined with footwork so that we can evade a punch, get past their weapon, and then use our footwork to break us out of that corner. Pressuring, so placing your shoulder on their shoulder to suffocate the space, and then using that to muscle your way around out of space. Inside fighting, hooks, uppercuts, overhand, stuff that we can work from closer range as opposed to our jabs and crosses that need more space. You need to work on this arsenal of weapons that is more effective in this closed, tight phone box environment, and on the footwork necessary and head movement necessary to get yourself out of hot water when you get put into that position. But in the meantime, whilst you're working on those skills and developing it, and you don't want to always just get lit up in sparring, start building in a response that when you get shelled up and cover up, that you throw something, that you don't stand there and wait for something to happen or wait till you see the perfect opportunity, but that you throw something to interrupt your opponent and get you back into the fight. Guys, hope that one's been helpful for you. If it has, I'd appreciate if you smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.